Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh summarizes the past 2 months of violence from Democrats, but gets mixed feedback on social media. Representative Thomas Massie reacts to Zohran becoming New York City's mayor and gives some tips on how Republicans could win the midterms. Ted Cruz tries to ratio Brett Cooper, but it backfires on him big time. Mitsubishi profits crash 79% as they try to pivot to fleet sales. And Kirkland Signature Prosecco gets recalled. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT, value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in anti-security. Heck, I see your founder at least twice a day. Guy says he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny reliable adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Mitsubishi profits crashing by 79%, and then thinking maybe fleet sales will help, which no, certainly will not. Now it's brought to us thanks to Joel, who's a writer at thedrive.com, and perhaps I should put a visual disclaimer on the screen. You're about to see Mitsubishi vehicles, which have not looked good for debatably 10 plus years. And might even be more visually visceral disgusting than my face, debatably. Now again, credit to Joel Felder, who's a writer at thedrive.com. Oh, it's a Mitsubishi SUV. And they say, quote, Mitsubishi leaning into fleet sales as profits plunge 79%. They note that declining sales and tariffs hit Mitsubishi hard, cutting operating profit by $117.7 million in Q3, which I was about to say how the mighty have fallen, but Mitsubishi, even at their peak, was never even in the top 2 or 3 Japanese automobile manufacturers in terms of reliability, sales, or really respect. But they had some cool hits throughout the years. I mean, who doesn't wish they had a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo back in the day? Those things were epic. The Eclipse from Fast and Furious, obviously really cool. But now they mostly make SUVs for people who don't want to pay more for a Nissan. I mean, it is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Japanese automobiles these days. I'm actually astonished that they're still in business. You'll see like one dealer every like 12 towns. But nevertheless, down in the article, again, credit to Joel Felder, who's a writer there. And they say, quote, good morning and welcome to Downshift, the TDS for short. They know that Mitsubishi's sales are crashing again by 79%, and their operating profits are just in the barrel. Again, tariffs and all that kind of stuff. They say they plan to lean into fleet sales and expect full year operating profits to drop by 50%. Jeez. I mean, again, I thought things were bad for Mitsubishi. Somehow it got worse. Now, darn pop-ups. Now they say that Mitsubishi thinks the Japanese yen recent slide against the US dollar enables exports to eke a profit. Even at the 15% tariff rate, Executive Vice President Tatsu Nakahuma said the Japanese automaker will open the tap on fleet sales through the end of the fiscal year, which, again, that's going to be a very short infusion of sales and usually just takes your reputation and slides it through the mud. Most automobile manufacturers have a stigma against fleet sales, which, again, is good because it's a high volume of units being pushed, but usually it's a very price-sensitive type of sale. And I think nowadays, in terms of pejorative view of fleet sales, people think of like the Nissan Altima, which Nissan leaned into fleet sales years ago, or like General Motors, which has had fleet sales for decades, which make vehicles that sometimes hit 40,000 miles and plus. I'm only partially exaggerating, but it's something you don't see from high-quality automobile manufacturers. They usually never do fleet sales. I believe actually Honda brags about how they've never done it. Same with Toyota, which, again, Toyota is the largest, most famous, and most successful automobile company on the planet, not just in terms of units sold and revenue, but also in terms of reliability. Now, I mean, they also note that net income swung to only 66.6 million loss the past 3 months from 57.2 million profit a year before. You know that quarterly sales fell in North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, and in Australia and New Zealand, while flatlining in the home market of Japan. Like Japanese competitors, Mitsubishi is strained under the current U.S. tariffs implemented by Trump, even after their breakthrough trade deal reducing the duty rate to imported Japanese vehicles to 15% from the earlier level of 27.5%. The 6 Japan players selling in the U.S. see their combined tariff tab totaling billions of dollars, which, again, looks like their sales are even under 1 million vehicles. Jeez Louise. So that's their sales forecast for the whole year, which, again, sounds, I mean, million vehicles sounds like a lot. It's not in terms of a global manufacturer. And again, they've been starting in North America for a long time. I believe it was even, was it 10 years ago? They shut down the last United States factory, which again, for logistics reasons, shipping and cost, most of the cars in the United States are made here, or at least, depending how you define it, assembled here with a mixture of global components. And Mitsubishi is shutting down dealerships. They shut down all the U.S. assembly. They're in a tough spot. And again, it's one of those things where they might win a couple short-term fleet deals. I don't know which fleet would actually want a Mitsubishi. I mean, the kid in me always remembers King of the Hill. You have Cotton Hill goes, Mitsubishi, they made the planes bomb Pearl Harbor, which technically, yes, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, just like General Motors, had some military contracts. Though, again, in later years, Mitsubishi was spun off into a standalone automobile company. Fun trivia fact of the day, I suppose. But again, I think this is going to be a very short-term fix. But what is a compelling reason to buy a Mitsubishi in 2025 and 2026? Presumably, well, nowadays you could only buy an SUV from them. You're buying something that is not as reliable as a Honda or as a Toyota. I would venture to say it was almost as unreliable as a Ford vehicle, which is saying something. They've had over 115 recalls this year thus far. So as Mitsubishi tries to do these short-term infusion of sales, going for the fleet sales, I think it'll also hurt their brand even more, which is saying something. And I mean, this will help them short-term, but long-term I think it's going to help them. It's going to do more damage than good. And I don't see how they're going to recover from this. Every year their sales are going down. Their vehicles are not any more desirable year over year. And the Eclipse is now bastardized. They took that name and threw it on an SUV for all 18 people who would want it. And again, there's no compelling reason anymore to buy Mitsubishi. They used to have some very unique, cool vehicles throughout the years, from enthusiasts to families, and they just kind of lost that. And it's not as reliable as competition. I guess it's a discount, but I mean, at a certain point, just doesn't make any sense. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the cultural part of the podcast, you have Matt Walsh summarizing the list of atrocities that Democrats have committed the past couple months and getting somewhat ratioed on social media. Now, again, it's brought to us thanks to, of course, Matt Walsh, hashtag the Matt Walsh blog on X. He says, quote, just to recap the past 2 months, Charlie Kirk shot in the throat on stage. Thousands of leftists spending weeks celebrating openly. Leftist militants taking to the streets, committing and calling for more violence. Attorney General candidate for Virginia expressing his desire to murder conservatives and watch their children die. Democrat voters turn out in masses to vote for him. Do you understand who your enemies are yet? Got 4.6 million views and 101,000 likes, which, yeah, it's interesting how the mainstream media, for all, I was about to say 18 idiots who watch it, there's more than that, unfortunately. But yeah, the candidate in Virginia, who, again, we have most of the data is now, won. He had text messages where he said, oh yeah, I hope my opponent's children die so that their parents would learn a lesson and they'll change their political opinion. Most evil things I ever heard of. You were saying the Republicans are so evil because, oh my gosh, they had a naughty group chat where they said pejorative jokes and slurs. At the same time, Democrats are cheering and hoping for death of their opponents. When again, what is it, like 1 or 2 assholes on the right or Libertarian Party who express those feelings? Maybe. I'm not seeing it. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's getting worse and worse out there, especially for large public figures like Matt Walsh, where the threats against them are even, I can't imagine the amount of money they have to spend on just security alone, just to make sure him and his family are safe. And yet we're not seeing any violence on the opposite side, really. Now, go to the comments. One of the first ones comes to us, thanks to Matt Van Swole, who says, quote, yes, they're the ones who swatted my family with 3 kids in their beds. These are the ones who send me emails wishing for my kids and wife to be, well, I was just say I try to keep this my really family friendly, so I'll change the wording a little bit. Taking advantage of the worst possible way and killed in front of me. These are murderous, evil, vile people. I know my enemy. My enemy is those who want me dead, getting 7.2 thousand likes. We also have National Conservatives saying, quote, yes, but look at the bright side. Magical white links, 145 likes. Pretty random. Sagicia Eternia says, quote, Matt Walsh perfectly articulates the chilling reality. This is not a political disagreement. This is an active, escalating war launched by the left. They did not just tolerate the murder of Charlie Kirk. Their militant base celebrated the political assassination. They didn't just overlook J. Jones' fantasy about killing Republicans and their children. They voted for him in droves to be the Attorney General. The Democrat Party has become the official sponsor of political terror and malice. You're not debating liberals. You are facing an enemy that is ideologically committed to violence against you, your family. Wake up, secure your community. Gain 460 likes, 61 likes. The based electrician, great to see him back in the comments, he says, quote, these people vote for candidates that wish death upon our children in hopes that they will be able to continue their murder their own preborn children. This country is This is where his country is at, getting 43 likes. Let's see here. The conservative alternative says, quote, Democrats have embraced domestic terrorism as a political strategy. He says, quote, Stephen Miller says it best.
I would say that the mayor of all
This is a little clip of Stephen
these
Miller.
Democrat cities, like Chicago, what you are doing to your own citizens is evil. Subjecting your own citizens to this constant bloodbath and then rejoicing in it is evil. And you should praise God every single day that President Trump is in the White House. The Democrat Party does not fight for, care about, or represent American citizens. It is an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal alien terrorists. The Democrat Party is not a political party. It is a domestic extremist organization. Look at Chicago. They've shut down the police department. They've handcuffed law enforcement. And as President Trump says, they have turned the streets of Chicago into a bloody killing field. Here in Washington.
Yep. I mean, when I grew up in the Midwest, Chicago was called Chirac because more people were dying in Chicago than our soldiers were in Iraq. That's how messed up Chicago is. I should clarify. I was about to say is. Yeah, past tense, present, all the tenses. Because again, Chicago, it's one of those things where all the laws that Democrats want, mostly on a federal level, are already enacted in many local levels, especially in the city, or as I pejoratively pronounce it, shitty of Chicago. One of them being, well, gun control. Which, again, I was about to say I'm a Texan, obviously, but American. Very much pro-Second Amendment. Chicago has so much red tape. You can't even buy ammunition without a license. It's one of 2 states where you need that, which I would argue is warrant as well as unconstitutional. They have some of the most stringent gun regulation in the United States. I mean, the law-abiding citizens are basically disarmed in that terrible place. And not only can you not own a variety of firearms, but you have a waiting, I think it was a 7-day waiting period still if you want to buy one. It's an instance where all the bad guys, they're killing each other left and right, and innocent people are dying. It's been that way for about 100 years in Chicago. Maybe it's a little dark humor. I joke sometimes and say Chicago will be a great safe city as soon as they win a Super Bowl. Worst ball joke, because also the Chicago Bears are known for their defense. And the cliche thing they would say in the Midwest is, oh, the Chicago Bears will be good next year. Which, spoiler alert, in a couple decades, no, they have not. Just like they have not attracted major businesses to move there past couple decades, or people to move there. But again, back to Stephen Miller.
D.C., before President Trump launched the federal law enforcement liberation in D.C., there was a murder on the streets of this town every other day. Body after body after body after body. That was Washington, D.C. Residents were afraid to go to restaurants. They were afraid to go into entire neighborhoods. They were getting carjacked right and left, robbed and beaten. That was Washington, D.C. Now we're 2 weeks homicide free, the safest the city has ever been in its entire history.
Yep.
And the Democrats, instead of jumping up and down and saying, thank you, President Trump, thank you for saving our lives, thank you for saving our cities, instead of thanking him for that, they're saying, President Trump, how dare you save our lives? How dare you save our children? How dare you save our city? The Democrat Party, Sean, that exists today, it disgusts me.
Yep, and that got 317 likes. Someone by the name of Leonard B. Drager says, this is the enemy. It's Ben Shapiro dressed up as the bunny from A Christmas Story, getting 933 likes. The Viral Architect has a Photoshop of, well, it's Zeruska, who was killed on the public transit, only she's been replaced with Statue of Liberty, and Zohran with a knife is behind her, getting 116 likes. Well, it's got 829 likes. This is from Ryan Vaughn. It's a comic of a gal with a t-shirt that says vote blue no matter who, and she says defund the police, Black Lives Matter, and a black guy in a hoodie goes up and punches her in the face, getting 829 likes. You also have Boyce saying, when men stop believing in God, they don't believe in nothing. They don't believe in nothing. They believe in anything, which is a quote from C.G. Chesterton, which grammatically speaking also double negative, but nevertheless got 543 likes. Scrolling down more and more. Kim says, you can thank liberal women for this. Here's a screenshot of her quoting OSZ, known as Open Source Zone on Twitter, who says, CNN Virginia Attorney General exit poll by gender. Men voted for Myers at 58%, Jones at 40%. Women voted for Jones at 55%, and Myers at 43%. That got 593 likes. Artosis says this is all the anti-immigration. Sorry, if this is all the anti-immigration party can do, then you should deserve to lose. Getting 333 likes. I Love American News says communism has arrived in America. And it's the David Beckham and his wife being interviewed parody, but the wife's been changed out for Kamala Harris. It says, I want equality or equity. David Beckham goes, be honest. She goes, I want equal outcomes for all. He goes, be honest. She goes, I want communism. He goes, thank you. In 297 likes. Dr. Ashley says the Democrat Party is America's Hamas, getting 208 likes. He's got 3.7 thousand likes from Dissident West, who says, quote, your boss is also a key figure in this defeat. Without guys like Shapiro attacking Tucker Carlson and everyone to the right of him, we wouldn't be so divided right now. That's an undeniable fact. Again, getting 3.7 thousand likes. Was he ratioed? No. Well, I know I lost that there. Oh, there you go. Skip down a couple frames there. I'm trying to see if there's any more contrarian statements. Not too much. Yeah, Special Officer Doofy said maybe if the GOP were for us instead of Israel, more people would have shown up to support him, getting 424 likes. Detroit Lava says your boss thinks our enemies are Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, and he can't go to a war and can't wait to go to a war with Iran. It looks like a tweet from Ben Shapiro in 2014 in which Ben Shapiro said, quote, Alicia Cross wins with his comment on Jesus, hands up, don't shoot pose. It should be hands up, don't nail. Ben got 429 likes, and then this repost got 236 likes. Let's see. Gabe says, Seth Dillon and your buddies, Ben Shapiro and Andrew Klavan, still think the bigger problem is Tucker Carlson, getting 348 likes. Which I think a lot of these comments are emblematic or kind of a preview of what's going to happen in the midterms, which I think Republicans are becoming more and more divided over the big topic of how much aid and how much support do we give to Israel and their support with our politics. I think that's going to fracture the party completely, and Democrats are going to win in a wave during the midterms. Again, Democrats, to their credit, they're very strategic. They're very united. Republicans, a lot of them are like chickens with their head cut off. A lot of them are also rhinos, pejoratively known as Republicans in name only. And yeah, I can't but think that it's going to fracture the group more and more. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, your Representative Thomas Massie reacting to Zohran winning the election and giving some tips on how Republicans could, in theory, win the midterms. Now, this is brought to us thanks to, of course, Thomas Massie himself, hashtag Representative or Rep Thomas Massie. He says, quote, to avoid a repeat of last night's shellacking in 2026 midterms, Republicans should, 1, quit covering for PDFs, 2, put America before Israel, 3, put farmers before corporations, 4, quit funding wars abroad, 5, reduce spending to control inflation, 6, quit attacking independent voices. Some good tips. And he got 3.1 million views and 129,000 likes, which, again, a lot of Republicans are very much pro-war. I think a lot of people did vote for Donald Trump multiple times because Trump historically was not so much into the war. Kind of changed some of his actions lately. A lot more bombings this time around when he's in office. And yeah, I think independent voices. And again, Thomas Massie it's not like he hits it 100% of the time. He has obviously his flaws. I don't agree with every one of his takes. But again, he is very much independent. He doesn't vote with the GOP 100% of the time. And that's pretty rare. I'd say it's about really rare. Most of them vote for GOP or with the Democrat Party because they're rhinos. But yeah, I think he's actually the only, I think, 1 or 3 people actually pushing to get the Epstein files released. When everyone else, I mean, shoot, how does Pam Bondi have a job? I'll never forget. Oh yeah, we have the files on my desk. We got 10,000 plus pieces of evidence. Oh yeah, wait, what files? What do you mean? Why do you care? How about the biggest fumble or smack in the face in political history? Like, really? You campaigned. Like, the Trump campaigned on getting those files released to the public. And then they go, oh, yeah, why do you care about that? Well, because a lot of people voted for you in part because you were going to give us unparalleled amounts of transparency. Now, go to the main comments. One of the first ones comes to us thanks to, well, not the most liked comment, but the most handsome one. Me, the Topping Show, I say, quote, also repeal the NFA Act of 1934, nearly 100 years of tyranny, which, yeah. It'd be nice if Republicans were really, really pro-gun. Many of them aren't. But yeah, the reason it's a pain in the ass to buy things like short-barrel rifles, short-barrel shotguns, suppressors, destructive devices, machine guns, is because the National Firearms Act of 1934. Which, again, the big beautiful bill does reduce the tax stamp from $200 per item to $0 per item. which you could argue thereby gives legal standing to sue the government to get rid of it because legally it was only allowed to exist, the Supreme Court ruled, because it was a tax. So they said, oh yeah, you can have your rights, but we're going to tax it, which obviously I find abhorrent and unconstitutional. Should not be able to tax that kind of stuff. So again, you could argue the groundwork has been laid where it can be repealed. I'm pretty skeptical to see if that actually happened. Again, Republicans have the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives multiple times in my lifetime. I wish they would be a lot more pro-gun. I can't but think only 3 of them really are. I also said, quote, what are your thoughts on mass deportations? Trump, I believe, was elected in part to remove folks who broke into the USA, and at the rate of deportations, it's not even a fraction of what is needed to undo what Biden-Harris did. That got 3 likes, which, yeah, and it's one of those things where if that rate was really high and substantial, I think someone like Fox News, they would have a ticker counter. Just kind of to proudly show the Americans how many people they deported. I think they're not doing those types of statistics because the number is not really good. You also have Liberty Pill memes. Says funny how that works. And say, picture Norm MacDonald goes, oh yeah, in other news, Ghislaine Maxwell becomes the first person ever convicted of trafficking children to nobody. And 434 likes. Yeah. What about OJ? Which, yeah, that's probably the worst Norm impression of the year, but nevertheless, the attempt was made. You have our favorite contrarian, well, not really favorite, but life gets boring when you're in your echo chamber, so I try to follow as many people as possible. Trump Tracker says, quote, they simply could not do it. It's not in their DNA. Give him 176 likes. But was he ratioed? No. Jug says, quote, not a word about immigration. Interesting seeing how it is the number 1 factor determining elections in 2025. In 1.8 thousand likes, which, yeah, I think I think that, as well as the H-1B visa program, which, again, Trump quickly acquiesced and said, oh, now it's a good thing. Now the visas are good. They're great. Not the MasterCard, not the credit card. I'm talking about the H-1B visa. Elon says we need them for the electric robot Terminators that'll take over. Really big deal. Really big, great thing. Which, again, I don't think a lot of people realize there's about 50 million people in the United States on the H-1B visa program. And again, I'm not necessarily saying that number should be 0. I'm just saying if there's unemployed Americans, and a lot of the jobs that these folks have on the H-1B visas can be done by citizens, I would argue many businesses are just utilizing them because they're a fraction of the price or they cost less than a full-time, employee with U.S. citizenship. And there's also that awkward situation where they're also here because of that business. They're very much in a position to not complain or to make any, not really cause a ruckus. Because again, if they lose their job, in theory, they'd be booted out. These days, I don't think they would. Just chill around. But that is the thing where, yeah, Trump got a lot of pushback from that. There's a lot of angry tweets. I do wonder, could that affect the midterms in terms of, how many Americans, when, again, I think most people would argue the economy is not doing that great. How many of them realize there's, again, 50 million people here competing for resources, housing, apartments, and they're also, yeah, they're taking a lot of jobs. I think that could be a big topic for the midterms. And maybe it could swing it. Now, going down more and more, you also have America First Annie saying MAGA, or MAGAs are in her name. It says Thomas Massie is a guy with his head up his butt getting 228 likes. Let's see. Oh, I was going to say, speak of the devil. Now, Thomas 40, apparently he tweeted November 2nd. He said, Congressman, could you keep dodging me online, but you are trailing in the polls with your upcoming primary election. Please explain why you sponsor a bill that would have flooded America with India H-1Bs. Now, he responded to his own tweet, and he says, quote, did he really say the same thing? A little bit more. So he says, quote, hi, Congressman, you still haven't answered my question. Why did you sponsor a bill that would have flooded America with Indian H-1Bs? Interesting how you did not mention immigration at all in this little list. They got 4.4 thousand likes. I think that is the most liked comment in the whole comment section for Thomas Massie's post. And yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, again, there's already 50 million people here on the visa program. That's insane. 50 million people are here on that program already. And again, it's not like it's a Great Depression in terms of unemployment rates. There are a lot of citizens who need jobs right now. I can't but think it'd be good. I mean, just political points, even if you don't really authentically care about the program or the people, it'd be good political points just to pontificate, say, hey, maybe roll back this program, even just say temporarily. There's really not a lot of politicians putting that out there these days. I think that could be one of the winning messages for the midterms for someone to run with. You also have Red Baron, who says, quote, what's the Spider-Man meme? And you have Tobey Maguire says, I like this Thomas Massie guy. And you have, Osborne's son. I forget the actor's name. He says, quote, Peter, he's a wild constitutionalist who wants to cease sending blank checks overseas, destroy the deep state, and release the Epstein list. And Spider-Man goes, I already told you I like him. You want to sell him to me in 2.9 thousand likes. Top Us says, what's shellacking? Blue states voted for exactly what they wanted. We had a red wave down here in Texas. Take notes, Tom. In 308 likes. Mr. Guns and Gear says, quote, that'd be swell. Add mass deportations of millions of invaders, and I'm in. Gain 474 likes. Captain Dreamer, while he got 5.9 thousand likes, said, quote, not mentioned immigration. Why do you not talk about the most important issue we face? Good question. Did Thomas Massie respond? Chris responded, saying, quote, libertarians are more concerned with being ideologically consistent rather than pragmatic. They'll happily sell out this country to a third world so long as they don't violate the NAP during the purchase. In 183 likes. Nash says, do not understand the list. Immigration is one of the few campaign promises admin is sort of doing something about. Gain 35 likes. Let's see. Gregory says, number of arrests. Russia collusion hoax 0. January 6th 0. Mar-a-Lago raid 0. Biden auto pen 0. 2020 election 0. Epstein PDF arrest 0. COVID 0. Benghazi 0. Doge findings 0. Ukraine impeachment votes 0. Gain 326 likes. Yeah. We also have a cute picture of an owl. His axiomatic enemy of the state profile says, quote, or it's a, the Pawn Stars meme. It's Massie, can I have 4 or 5 more voices in Congress that don't always do what the party tells them? Congress goes, best we can do is 50 more puppets of APAC, getting 2.4 thousand likes. James Kirkpatrick says, quote, well, that and stop importing third worlders who are going to vote for the left no matter what. But you know this and support it anyway, getting 2.7 thousand likes. America First says, quote, you missed one. The immigrants need to go. No more visas, no more illegals, and citizenship should be granted in the last 15 years, need to be heavily scrutinized, if not, if followed process or not, getting 752 likes. See, it looks like he's mostly getting ratio now. Douglas McCallie says, no mention of immigration, getting 848 likes. Thomas Massie is not responding to those. A little disappointing. Lawyer Mom says, quit putting foreign visa holders above American workers, getting 797 likes. Mostly negative now. Naomi Levin says, false. The main issue is some Republican organizations, politicians, and influential people are still defending the likes of Tucker. No one on the fence will want to support Republican if that continues, getting 58 likes. Again, it looks like Massie is mostly ratioed here. And again, that was the biggest topic when you look at polls from the presidential election. That was the number one thing, was immigration and securing the southern border and deportations of people who broke in here. And I think for the midterms, that will be the biggest one, as well as, again, a very competitive job market. A lot of people are struggling. I think the H-1B visa program is going to be one of the most viral topics for the upcoming midterms. But let me know your thoughts, because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, other interesting political news, you have Ted Cruz trying to ratio Brett Cooper, but it backfires immensely. Now, it's brought to us thanks to Ted Cruz, hashtag Ted Cruz, CRUZ, and he says, quote, I don't know, roast. He says, I don't know who this angry lady is, but she's missing key distinctions. Fuentes calls himself a Nazi. He said Hitler is very cool, Hitler is right, and he says Team Hitler. If you explicitly side and advocate for Hitler, you're an you're an actual effing Nazi. This is Brett Cooper.
Ridiculous, insane hatred of Tucker Carlson that you cannot see how irresponsible and hypocritical you are being. I mean, these tweets from Ted Cruz, I'm going to read you next, are a great example of this. So just a month ago, he tweeted this. He said, they don't kill you because you're a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you. Political violence is a left-wing phenomenon. Enough is enough. We need to shut it down. And then in response to Fuentes and Tucker this week, he tweeted this. Trump's bombing of the Ayatollah's nuclear facilities made the little Nazi mad. Good. So now you're turning around and you're calling somebody that you don't like a Nazi. You're doing this out of blind rage because you're so angry that the conservative base's attitudes are rapidly changing, that Nick Fuentes is getting national attention, and so you have turned around and in response, you are compromising your own values and anger, which is such a dangerous precedent to set. And unfortunately for you guys, yes, the attitudes are changing, so again, it makes sense why this group is incredibly frantic. You are so
Yeah, and Ted Cruz thought it'd be a good idea to post this. Spoiler alert, not so much. It did get 3.5 million views and 28,000 likes. So, on the plus side for Ted Cruz, this is one of those viral things he said all year. Unfortunately for him, he's mostly ratioed. And again, in terms of Ted Cruz's career, He said some pretty good things in terms of Second Amendment, which again, I especially appreciate. But ever since the Tucker Carlson interview, his popularity has crashed like a Boeing aeroplane. And more and more people are critiquing him. Now, interestingly enough, in terms of, do I think this will hurt him politically speaking? I actually don't think it'll hurt him too much, because if you look at the demographics and you look at who's mostly supporting Ted Cruz, a lot of the folks are the folks who watch Fox News. They're not on X. X is very much becoming more and more politically sided more towards the right, as well as some libertarians. And it's more the youth is what I should say. I don't think this actually hurt him too much. He thinks Ted Cruz thought this is a good idea. Yeah, not so much. In fact, the first comment comes to us thanks to Owen Shriver, who says, quote, Ted Cruz crashing out on Brett Cooper. What a wild night it was. Getting 15,000 likes, which also getting foolish to say, I don't know who this girl, did he call her angry girl? I don't know who this angry lady is. Which again, it takes about 1/10 of a second to Google something or go on Brave and do a Brave search. She's one of the most culturally influential podcasters ever. She rose to fame over at the Daily Wire. There, she spun off, did her own thing, and she's becoming even more popular, more viral, more influential ever since she started her own gig or became independent. And again, politically speaking, she's on the right. He should know this. Especially if he's looking for the youth vote in the future. He should know, who are the most influential, culturally significant people. She's one of them. Her first show when Brett Cooper started her own show got over 1 million views. That's incredibly successful. And Ted Cruz is like, I don't know who she is. So he's either, maybe he's trying to be cheeky, or he's stupid. And he doesn't know who Brett Cooper is. Which, especially in politics, again, Brett Cooper is becoming more and more political in terms of her conversation, in terms of her topics. Obviously, she's political in terms of she came from the Daily Wire, but she was mostly known for covering cultural phenomenons. He should definitely know who she is. And again, Ted Cruz, this is, I think, going to hurt the Republican Party more and more. Even for over a decade, I was told, Republicans stand for free speech, America. They want everyone to have an equal opportunity to present their ideologies, their opinions at the debate stage, so you let the best ideas brew to the surface. That's what the Daily Wire claimed that they were for. Now I do wonder how many days until Matt Walsh is fired, because he's a little bit more of a contrarian over there in terms of groups think at the Daily Wire. Which again, I think they've done some good things over there. Was a hilarious documentary. But yeah, Republicans, a lot of them are becoming leftists in terms of we need to cancel that person because he's saying things we don't like. Again, I really think Ben Shapiro should debate Nick Fuentes. It'd be the most viral things on the internet. And again, Ben Shapiro, he could win some of those debate points. He could show Nick Fuentes is wrong, and vice versa. Again, I thought the whole ideology of republicanism and conservatism was free speech, free debate of ideas, free exchange of ideas. Having Ted Cruz do this isn't winning him any political points. He thinks it is. Maybe a couple of the hardcore, old school right wing guys will appreciate what he's doing here. Make your average person who's just thinking, hey, I want everyone to have equal opportunity for speech. They're going to see this and go, wait a minute, you were just, as Brett Cooper eloquently said, you were just recently accusing the left of doing this, or saying the left was doing this, and vehemently disagreeing with them or doing that, calling people Nazis. Now you're doing it. Now, again, scrolling down to the main comment section, you also have Henry Fajord. Says, quote, good tweet, champ. There's a picture of AI generated picture of Ted Cruz in a wrestling uniform, and the championship belt is labeled APAC. Oh, try to get his moderately family friendly. APAC male appendage sucking champion, gave him 12,000 likes. Jeez Louise. Christian Iziari has a Steven Crowder meme where you're sitting at the table, says, Christian Zionists are retarded, changed my mind, gave 592 likes. Now my handle says, you are a liar and a fraud. You want Nick Fuentes dead. Odious grifter, filth. Getting 3.2 thousand likes. Let's see. David Crabtree has a AI-generated picture of Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson standing on a grave, labeled the pro-Israel right, getting 236 likes. Postcard to Pennsylvania. It's a SpongeBob meme looking through folders. It says, quote, liberals looking for ways to end argument they're losing. And say all the folders labeled homophobe, misogyny, white supremacist, hate speech, colonist, Nazis, sexist, fascist, racist, getting 865 likes. Scooter McGavin says, quote, or it's a quote from Brett Cooper. She says, I think you'd be happier in Israel, getting 871 likes. Though again, in that case, her quote is in reference to Representative Randy Fine. You also have Alex Rosen says, quote, Ted, you understand that there's more pressing issues than Nazis? Pass a bill to end free speech for immigrants. Now you effing retard. Or sorry, he says, pass a bill to end free shit for immigrants. Now you effing retard. Getting 4.5 thousand likes, which, yeah, because of the ineptitudes and or corruption of Democrats and Republicans, we are now $38 trillion in debt and counting every single day. So I would argue, yeah, ending a lot of these benefits that, again, if you're here illegally, shouldn't be getting, that's not going to solve it. It's not going to balance the budget overnight, but it could be a contributing factor in the right direction. We also have Satire Ops as a picture of, well, Netanyahu walking him on a leash, getting 2.1 thousand likes. A lot of people just screenshotting Ted Cruz's previous post on X, talking about the Nazis getting a couple thousand likes, calling out his hypocrisy. You have Kays says, quote, you're a traitor to your nation and your people. You have no right to moralize. And there's a quote from Ted Cruz's famous interview with Tucker Carlson, in which Ted Cruz did say, quote, I came to Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the largest defender of Israel in the United States, getting 2.1 thousand likes. You also have someone by the name of Faux. Looks like a animated fish with a, here we call it a cone hat. But they said, quote, you're a traitor to the country. And you have a screenshot from Track APAC profile. It says Ted Cruz received $1,706,326 from APAC, getting 1,000 likes. You also have Costa DC says it's over traitor. You have a old school cartoon with a Tom and Jerry, his little mouse is now ripped. Looks like he hit the gym, labeled Gen Z, and Tom the cat is labeled Israel, and Gen Z is pushing back against him. And they're hitting him with the, this old cartoon. I think I remember this episode, which even back then I liked vintage media. He was hitting them with the, what is it called? The fire poker, and the poker would dent into the shape of the mouse. They got 1.8 thousand likes. Data Republican says Fuentes endorsed Harris. Fuentes hates MAGA. Fuentes loves Hitler. I don't know what's so difficult about this. Now, readers did add context that says, quote, Fuentes did not endorse Kamala Harris. He explicitly refused. He also declined to endorse Trump, and he criticized MAGA supporters. They did get 5.4 thousand likes. Graham Maldus says, calm down, Fatso, you worship Israel. Picture of Ted Cruz at the yarmulke getting 6.3 thousand likes. Let's see. The fourth troglodyte says, Brett Cooper is not the government, you are. It's a picture of the Patriots coach, Bill Belichick, and the quote is, do your job? Getting 581 likes. And this is, Evan simply says, Ted Cruz is a bitch, getting 2.7 thousand likes. Skyhall Griper says, Hitler Moggs. I don't know what that means, your fat ass. There's a picture of Ted Cruz famously at the airport where he went to Cancun when Texas had an ice storm, which, talk about bad optics. He's leaving your state when there's any bad weather, probably not a good idea. In terms of, again, you're a politician, you're not necessarily going to be on the streets doing damage control and helping people out. I would argue maybe you should. But yeah, Ted Cruz has the terrible optics of leaving for vacation when tragedy struck, and that did get, again, that picture there did get 1,000 likes. Let's see. Yeah. Again, I'm trying, there's like one, so of all these, and I'm not cherry picking them, I'm going right down in order, most popular, least popular. They're pretty much, with the exception of two, all of them ratioing Ted Cruz. And again, this is all kind of skewed data because we're looking at X. We're not necessarily polling people who are not on social media who like Ted Cruz, which, again, there are many if he got elected. But again, it'll be interesting to see what is the applicable future for Ted Cruz as we see more people critique him. But let me know your thoughts and comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day of Kirkland Signature Prosecco getting recalled due to, a laceration hazard. Now, this brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, though, pretty low bar. And they say, quote, F&F Fine Wines recalls Kirkland Signature, this is definitely above my pay grade, Valdobiadine Prosecco, DOCG bottles sold by Costco due to laceration hazard. Obviously, yes, as you would think, I do not drink or really know what Prosecco is. Now, here you can see the fancy little bottle there. And they note that the hazard is that Prosecco bottles can break or shatter, posing a laceration hazard, affecting 941,400 units, which that is quite a few units of that swill being sold. And I'm actually pretty astonished by this because in terms of quality assurance and fighting for the consumer to get the best deal, the best quality product, I mean, Costco is one of the best companies on the planet. I mean, hindsight's 2020. I wish I bought their stock decades ago. But yeah, in terms of fighting for the consumer, getting exceptionally good price points and value, I mean, Costco's up there, one of the best, I'd argue, top 10 companies of all time. And Kirkland Signature is a Costco brand, which obviously, as they said, F&F Wine, that was a company that they hired to make this product for them and slap on their label and just for their private label, which again is very important for Costco because that's much more profitable than the average, products that they sell from the NYCs and the Under Armours and all the, Procter & Gamble, all the major manufacturers. The margins on those are a lot lesser. That's why pretty much every grocery store, nearly every industry has their own, stores have their own private label. It's a lot more profitable, and for consumers, it's a great value. And I'm surprised this got past their quality assurance department. They know that consumers should immediately stop using the recalled bottles and do not attempt to open them. Consumers should discard the recalled bottles in their household trash and contact Ethical Wines for instructions on how to obtain a full refund from Costco. They note that, they were kind of late to this recall. They note that F&F Wines International has received 10 reports of the bottle shattering or breaking, resulting in 1 laceration injury. So again, silver lining, no one's passed away from this, and they were not, seriously injured, so it's a little good news there. They're sold at Costco in Iowa, Illinois, which I purposely mispronounced as a slight to that state, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, Wisconsin, I think I'm safe, and Nebraska from April 2025 to August 2025 for about $8, which that is a pretty good bang for your buck, although I guess not in this case because it'll explode or kill you. But yeah, $8 for Prosecco. I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure that's a pretty good deal, probably. And these are actually pretty fancy. They're manufactured in Italy, which is pretty fancy. Pretty rare for recall to be recalling product from Italy. And again, no one's going to remember F&F brands, or what is this? Yeah, F&F Fine Wines. Because again, the big label on it is the Kirkland Signature, the Costco brand. And that's what we're going to associate this negative issue with. And again, overall, Costco will be fine. This is very rare for them to recall. But again, they still had a recall that affects one of the most important profitable things, which again, there's a private label. So you got to say Costco and Kirkland, in addition to F&F, are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.